the dead to my will. This world shall be next.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift. A summoner has disconnected. 30 seconds until minions spawn.
I suffered a mortal body. Now I am iron incarnate.
A summoner has disconnected. Minions have spawned.
Death by my hand is a blessing.
A summoner has disconnected.
You too shall suffer in spirit.
A summoner has disconnected. A summoner has disconnected.
You can create Drowned that way, but what you would want to farm Drowned for, specifically Tridents...
Rampage. You have been slain. Unstoppable.
Torture the silence of the hereafter. I rule it.
And Nautilus shells will not drop from the average drowned. On Bedrock Edition, the regular drowned that you encounter actually have a small chance of dropping a trident, whereas on Java Edition, unfortunately, that chance does not exist. You can
What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
Dominating.
only get a trident or a Nautilus shell from a drowned which is already holding a trident or a Nautilus shell, and those are only naturally spawned drowned. Drowned converted from zombies do not have the capacity to have a trident or a Nautilus shell held in their handle when they get converted, which means we're going to have to approach this a very different way. We're going to have to use natural spawning mechanics in order to generate enough drowned that are holding tridents and Nautilus shells that we can farm. Now let's take a quick look at the tridents I already have, because for those of you who've been keeping an eye on my gear in this series, I do actually have a few tridents. I have a backup channeling trident, my regular channeling trident after the first one got destroyed in a certain charged creeper incident, and I have a Riptide trident as well. So you might be wondering why I'm bothering to farm tridents at all. To be honest, I'm mostly doing it so that we can have an example of those drowned farm here in the series, because I'm playing on a multiplayer server where the ability to have lots and lots of tridents generated for the entire player base on the server is a kind of advantageous thing. You might be able to sell them to other friends on your server, gain a little bit of diamonds in the process, or maybe even just hand them out freely once you have the farm up and running. But really, it is going to be a case of this being more of a multiplayer server design than a single player design, because in single player, as long as you've got lucky with a couple of trident wielding drowned encounters in the wild, you're never really going to have to worry about tridents unless you are accident prone and consistent. Now you might be thinking, oh, a drowned farm. Okay, so we're going to the ocean today, because the ocean is where you've probably seen most drowned spawn in the past if you're playing the Java Edition. However, the ocean is not the ideal environment for drowned spawning, for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, there is so much ocean around that drowned can spawn in quite a wide radius, and that makes them very difficult to control. If drowned are spawning up to 128 blocks away, then there is less chance that you'll get drowned generating close enough to pathfind towards you and therefore put themselves within range to be attacked with your sword and farm. Now the other problem with drowned naturally spawning in oceans is that ocean biomes only spawn drowned below a certain level. It has to be below Y58 as far as I remember, and that presents a problem because normally the most efficient way of building a mob farm is to build it in the sky, away from any spawnable area for hostile mobs of any kind. And it's not really possible to build a drowned farm above an ocean at Y190 because drowned just won't spawn. You basically get a box that generates a ton of fish and not much else. Luckily for us, the same restriction does not apply to river biomes. So what we're going to be doing is building a drowned farm in the sky above a river biome. Now much like when we built the squid farm, it's going to be beneficial for us to pick an area with a large amount of river space. That way we can maximize the amount of spawnable space that we have for the drowned themselves. However, unlike the squid farm, we don't have to build it in the ground here, so we don't have to dry out a large section of river. Instead, we can build it in the sky, basically copying the outline of the river and allowing for us to build a pretty large spawnable space for the drown. And you will need quite a large space because typically if you build a small drown farm, you're not really going to get that many. They tend to like to spawn spaced out from each other. They don't pack spawn all that much either. They mostly spawn individually. One other thing to consider is the elevation of the terrain around you. You probably don't want to build one of these in a mountain biome because the terrain will stretch up to sometimes Y90 or even Y100. It can get pretty tall, and as a result, you'll have to build a farm higher and higher in the world in order to escape the possibility of mobs spawning on the surface. So what I've done is I've loaded up Mine Atlas, I've looked around for areas that will be suitable for a drown farm in my world, and I think I've come across a pretty decent one. And that is this little area here. We're out about 1,800 blocks from World Center, about 1,000 blocks north, and right here we have a little kind of island in the center of what is effectively a circle of river biomes. Now, it does get cut off over here a little bit, but that gets cut off in terms of the terrain generation, not the biome itself. You might be able to notice this patch of slightly cooler coloured grass here, the slightly grayer grass. That right there is still a river biome. So technically speaking, we have a bunch of spawnable space here for the drowned. The reason you won't find the drowned crawling out of rivers in Java Edition is that they also require a low enough light level. We need to make sure that the light level in our farm is nice and dark. Because we tend to see them more in oceans than anywhere else. But aside from this section of forest hills here, which could be easily taken down with a decent shovel and maybe a haste 2 beacon to get rid of the stone, we need to be about 128 blocks up from here to why 190? That seems like the highest point we need to be, and we could always end up torching some of the area down here on the surface and get a little bit lower down. But if I come up to the top of the scaffolding tower, which is going to have to be twice as high to reach our AFK spot, you can see that all the way around here we have a decent sized river biome which we should be able to trace the outline of and reproduce up here in the sky and maximize the amount of area that can spawn the drowned while we're up here. Aside from getting the scaffold, I brought a bunch of supplies with me that we're going to need for this little experiment. We're going to need a bunch of building materials, and I'm choosing stone here mainly because we can surround the entire thing with stone or stone brick or any kind of solid block to keep it dark inside the farm. Some folks choose to build theirs out of glass and just build a giant roof on it so that you can see stuff spawning on the inside. But I'm going to trust in the make sure you've got completely darkened on the inside without needing to build a giant roof over the top. The upshot of that being that potentially we can decorate this in a fun way and make sure that it doesn't look like a big open platform in the middle of the sky. Next up we have some ice, which we're going to use to generate some water sources when two farms.
He who conquers himself is the mightiest.
I
Feel so
untouched
right now.
need
You
much